Welcome to my notes on solving variables on both sides, and today we're going to look at a couple special cases. So the first one is no solutions. So in this case, the variables cancel out on both sides. This means that no matter what value you put in for the variable, the equation is set up so that no solution will work. So when this happens, both variables will cancel out and you'll get two numbers that are not equal. For example, something like 16 equals 20. Well, we know 16 does not equal 20, so we would cross out the equal sign saying that it's not equal, and we would write no solutions. And you'll see some examples down below. Now, the other case is the identity, and this is every number represented by the variable works in the equation. Why is that? Because you have the same terms on both sides. Okay, and the identity is otherwise known as infinite solutions. And that is because if you've got the same terms on both sides, the exact same terms on both sides, then any single number that you plug in will work. That's why we call it infinite solutions, because there are an unlimited number of answers that do in fact work. Okay, so let's now take a look at the examples, and we'll start with number one. Okay, now this is from the previous note sheet we had where these are grouping symbols or parentheses, and now we're going to use the distributive property. So 8 times 5x is 40x, and then we have a minus sign, and 8 times 2 is 16, so we're going to write minus 16 equals 10 times 32, which is 320, and we have an addition sign, and 10 times 4c is 40c. Now, I forgot to make a correction here. Let's change this to a C so that they both have the same letter. That was just a typo. Okay, now let's subtract 40C from both sides. And look what happens. If I take 40C from this side, it cancels. If I take 40C from this side, it cancels, leaving me with a minus 16, so we know that's negative 16, equals 320. But look, that doesn't look right because it's not true. So I'm going to cross out the equal sign, showing that it's not equal, and I'm going to write no solution, meaning whatever answer I plug in, I will never get one that works. Never. It's impossible. Okay. Let's look at number two. Again, we have grouping, so we're going to distribute. So we're going to get 4r plus 4 times 20 is 80 equals, now we're going to take a fifth of 20, which is 4r, and a fifth of 400, of course, is 80. Okay, now I'm going to move the 4r, and you might have noticed something before I move it, but I want to show you. Okay, 4r minus 4r is 0, 4r minus 4 is 0, and you get something that says 80 equals 80. Okay, if the variables cancel out and you get the exact same number on both sides, 80 equals 80, then that means any solution you put in will work. So we call this infinite solutions. And if you look at the step before I cancel out the 4r's, you will see that both sides are exactly the same. Look here, 4r plus 80 equals 4r plus 80. So if they're both the same, then any single number I plug in is going to be equal. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Okay, so there is no distributive property here. So we're going to move the variable. And I notice if I move this one, I add 4r. If I move this one, I add 4r. So it doesn't, it's not going to matter which one or even tell which one I moved. Okay, so those will cancel and equal 0. These cancel and equal 0. And we notice 5 equals 5. So once again, both sides equal each other, so we call this infinite solutions. Now, some people are like, well, those don't look alike. And you're right. Right now, negative 4r plus 5, this doesn't look like negative 4r plus 5. And you might say, well, subtraction isn't commutative. But what we do realize is that subtracting a positive is the same as adding a negative. So if I change this to a plus sign and change this to a negative, okay, then I have an addition problem, and then switching the order would give me exactly the same as negative 4r plus 5. Okay, so moving on to number 4. We have some distributive property, and then we also can't forget about what comes after it. Okay, so we've got distribute, the 2 times a is 2a. We've got a minus sign, and 2 times 8 is 16. And we've got plus 7 equals 5a plus 10, because 5 times 2 is 10. And then we've got minus 3a and minus 19. Now, we combine like terms on the same side, so I'm going to combine these. And we have minus 16, so that's negative 16, excuse me, plus 7, which is negative 9. So I'm going to write 2a minus 9. And now, look here. We don't have the like terms next to each other, but I'm going to use the commutative property, and I'm not going to show how I used it, but I'm going to be using it mentally here. So this is minus 3a. So I can put it next to the 5a because, remember, subtracting is the same as adding a negative. And so I can combine those, and 5 minus 3a, or 5 plus negative 3a, is 2a. And once again, I can do the same here because this is like saying adding negative 19, okay? And I can move it right here in my mind or mentally. And 10 minus 19, or 10 plus negative 19, is negative 9. So I can write minus 9. And you notice both sides are exactly the same now. 2a minus 9, 2a minus 9. But let me just go one step further in case sometimes you get to this point and you don't notice that. So 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2 cancels. Minus 9 is negative 9. So negative 9 equals minus 9, which is also negative 9. And we notice they're both equal, so it's infinite solutions. Okay, moving on to the next one. We have 5y minus 2y. Well, I notice those are like terms, so I got to combine those right away. So 3y, let me circle them so you know we're combining them, equals 3y plus 2. Okay, now I'm going to show you something. Some of you may have noticed what's going to happen here, but in case you didn't, I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides. These cancel, and I bring down the 2, bring down the equal sign. Now, when these cancel, I can't just leave nothing here. So 3 minus 3 is 0, so I'm going to put a 0 here. Does 0 equal 2? No. 0 is not equal to 2, so we write no solutions. Okay, and the last one, we have 18 minus 4k equals negative 10 minus 4k. Okay, So we're going to combine the variables. So we're going to add the opposite of subtracting 4k would be adding 4k. And of course, these are going to cancel because they're opposites, and these are going to cancel because they're opposites. So we have something that says 18 equals negative 10. Is that true? No. So cross out the equal sign and write new solutions. And remember, if you don't cross out the equal sign here, then mathematically it's not correct because 18 is not equal to negative 10. So it's not good enough to just write no solutions. Actually cross out the equal sign so that it's mathematically correct. Okay, hopefully you'll be ready for no solutions and infinite solutions when they're mixed into our regular questions on variables on both sides. So I hope you learned something today, and I hope you have a great day.